The poison that they spit was intended to break you, but now they are choking on their own poison. They believed that you would give in to their influence. They believed that if they pushed you mentally, emotionally, and financially, they could trap you in a version of yourself that was easier to control. They wanted you to be unstable, unwell, and unseen because broken people are easier to manipulate. Quiet people don't challenge control-dependent people, and they don't walk away. This was their goal, to keep you in the dark while they fed off of your light. However, instead of breaking you, you evolved. Of losing your mind, you found your clarity. Before we go any further like this, video subscribe and drop 77 in the comments. If you're reclaiming everything they tried to steal from you, each like pushes this message further into the hands of other chosen ones who need to hear it. The algorithm only responds when you do. Don't just feel it, amplify it. That's how we flip the energy back in our favor. Now let's get into it, chosen one. They didn't just wish for your downfall. They worked for it, smiling in your face while casting shadows behind your back, spreading rumors, planting seeds of doubt, secretly hoping you'd spiral out, fall apart, stay stuck. They needed you to lose. They needed you to need them because your strength intimidated them. Your confidence reminded them of what they could never be. You didn't even have to try. Your existence threatened their illusion of control, and now everything they wished on you is eating them alive. This is what happens when people go to war with someone the universe supports. They weren't just fighting you. They were fighting alignment itself and energy. What you send out eventually comes back to haunt you. And baby, that boomerang came back swinging the same darkness that they prayed over your life. It is haunting their nights now. The same instability that they whispered about you is showing up in their eyes. The chaos that they tried to trap you in is sitting heavy in their home. This is what universal justice looks like. There is no thunder, no announcement, just slow, cold truth showing up where lies once lived. Let's talk about it. Some of you still feel guilty, and you are still wondering why I did what I did. Feel bad seeing them fall apart. Let me tell you why. Because you're not like them. You still have empathy. You still see the broken child inside the manipulator. You still wish things could have ended differently. But feeling sorry doesn't mean you go back. Feeling deeply doesn't mean you give second chances to people who used your love as leverage. That guilt, let it die, because what's happening now isn't your burden. It's their karma. Stop doubting yourself. Stop asking if you imagine the darkness. Stop questioning if you were too harsh. You weren't. You gave grace, you gave time, you gave chances, and they spit in your face and called it love. You are not being punished. You're being protected. And if you ever hear that little voice that says, "Why am I still alone?" shut it down. You're not alone. You were isolated for alignment because the next level required distance from distraction. You couldn't elevate while being drained. You couldn't hear your inner voice over their noise. That silence wasn't abandonment. It was activation now. The universe is showing you what happens when you stop doubting your light and start owning it. So let them feel the fire they lit. Let them sit in the trap they built for you. Don't look back, don't check in, don't water dead plants, because everything they tried to manifest against you is manifesting for them, and everything you were denied, it's circling back to you, upgraded, aligned, and right on time. This is what the other side of survival looks like. You didn't just walk away, you transformed, and now it's getting ugly for them because it's finally getting right for you. So now that the mirror has flipped and their world is starting to look like the storm they tried to send your way, are you really surprised if you felt the shift? If you've seen them sinking while you rise, then you already know this message is for you. Drop the number 77 in the comments to confirm that you felt the reversal and you're not looking back like this video. Subscribe and share it with another chosen one who needs the reminder, because what's coming next, it's personal, it's precise, and if you're truly chosen, you'll feel it pulling you in. Let's get into it. They set the trap, then tripped into it. Now they're screaming while the universe does its work. The storm they dance for in your life is now flooding theirs, and they're drowning in a downpour they prayed would hit you. Let's get right into it. They thought it was a game, thought they could throw chaos, lies, manipulation, and low vibrational hate your way and never pay the price. They laughed when you were at rock bottom, mocked your struggles, watched you sink, and instead of offering a hand, they handed you more weight. But now that the tables have turned brutally, undeniably, some of them are hearing things, seeing things, talking to shadows that never leave. And it's not your imagination. It's not some twisted coincidence. It's consequence. This is the law of energy. What you put out always returns. And they were playing with forces they didn't understand in an attempt to destroy someone in the universe. They are in a state of panic because the same destruction that they hoped for you has made a home in their life. Baby, it's getting ugly. They are spiraling, the money they flexed gone, as well as the fake piece they posted online. Their mind is slipping away quickly. Chose to protect. And now that energy's back tenfold. They didn't know you were chosen, or maybe they did, and that's why they tried so hard to break you, because when people see a light, they can't possess or dim. Their next instinct is to destroy it. But the power of being chosen doesn't come from image, money, or clout. It comes from alignment. It comes from walking through fire and coming out clean. It comes from not collapsing, even when everything is collapsing around you, and that's what makes people like you dangerous. Because you didn't just survive their sabotage, you evolved through it. They couldn't handle your rise, so they prayed for your fall. They thought if they sent enough negativity, smeared your name, threw enough blocks your way, it would eventually crush you. But what they fail to realize is this: the universe doesn't just protect the chosen, it fights for them when they were coming at you. They weren't just picking a fight with a person. They were picking a fight with the system that built you, and now that system is pushing back hard. They're breaking down. Their life is falling apart in ways that they are unable to explain. Every door that they used to walk through with ease is now slamming shut. Every plan is glitching, and every lie that they told is coming back to haunt them in front of the same people that they tried to impress, the same hell that they wished on you. It is now their morning alarm, and you know what makes it worse. You are not even touching them. You are not dragging their name. You are not clapping back. You are not lifting a single finger against them. And that is what is currently destroying them the most. Your silence, your peace, and your leveling up are all being destroyed. They're watching from the sidelines, sinking in the chaos they created while you elevate in quiet power. And that contrast, it's killing them, because the chosen don't clap back with noise. They answer with results. And if you've been doubting your power, now's the time to stop. Stop thinking you're alone. Stop asking why things happened the way they did. Stop wondering why people turned on you, when all you ever did was move with real love. You were chosen for the storm because the universe knew you wouldn't break. You were built to carry light through dark places. You were marked for impact. And impact always comes with resistance. But now you're on the other side of it. And while they're crumbling under the pressure they once cheered for in your life, you're rising while they're haunted by the energy they once weaponized. You're being backed by a force that doesn't need revenge because it operates on correction. The universe isn't in a rush. It's just precise, so let them spiral, let them shout into silence, let them pretend they're fine while their world turns to ash behind the scenes. You don't owe them attention. You don't owe them sympathy. They laughed when you cried. They mocked your pain. They tried to bury your entire existence. But they forgot one thing. The universe doesn't forget, and now they're not facing karma. They're facing themselves without your light to hide behind. This is what happens when you play with the system and come for someone. It protects. This is what happens when you try to make a chosen one bleed and end up choking on your own intentions. They didn't just lose access to you, they triggered their own breakdown. They laughed when you fell, but now they are crying under the weight of their own collapse. The same energy that they mocked in you is now dismantling their life, and this time there is no one left to save them from the storm that they called in. Let's get one thing straight. Yes, you have been through it. You know what it is like to struggle. You have had nights that felt like endless days that hit like bricks. You have moments where your own mind felt like the battlefield. You have walked through darkness that would have broken most people, but you are still standing, still rising, and still glowing because of the fact that you have endured it. Pain was not the end of you, it was the making of you. However, now it is their turn, and baby, it is not just hitting, it is wrecking them. Here is something that they have never understood. When a chosen one suffers, it is refinement, it is transformation. When you go through difficult seasons, the universe is shaping you, sharpening you, and aligning you. However, when people who are out of alignment, people who operate from manipulation, ego, and cruelty, get hit, it is different, it is raw, it is ugly, it is exposure because you went through it with awareness. You evolved. You asked questions, you looked in the mirror, you confronted your suffering head on, even when it shattered you. You did not use your suffering as an excuse to destroy others. Rather, you used it to rebuild yourself. They are unable to even handle a taste of what they served you. And now that they are going through their season, they are unraveling not only mentally, but also energetically. Everything they built on lies, including their image and performance, their smiles, their confidence, and their connections. Worst of all, they are still trying to act as if they have everything under control, but you don't believe them. I can see through it. I can feel the glitch in their aura. The storm is in their eyes. I remember when you were going through it, and they watched in silence. I remember when they enjoyed it and laughed behind closed doors. I remember when they sent their little flying monkeys to check in on you just to report back and gossip. They thought your breakdown was entertainment. They thought your losses were comedy. They thought your pain was their high. However, now that they are losing, now that life is folding in on them suddenly, everything is too much for them to handle. Suddenly, they are the victim. You ever notice how quiet they become when the energy flips? They used to be loud everywhere in everyone's face. But now they are in hiding, disconnected. Their eyes look tired, their moves feel desperate, and their spirit, if you want to call it that, is cracking. Let's not pretend that the titles matter by any means, and let's not pretend that the devil is attacking me, or that everyone has turned against me. Let's keep it real. This is the energy that they put out, and it is coming back to eat them alive. It's not just the hard times, it's their own actions that are closing for them. Around pretending to be spiritual, enlightened, chosen, highly favored, they'll even throw on crystals or scriptures or mantras. Like a costume, but when the storm hits, the truth shows, because if you're not aligned, no title will protect you. Energy doesn't respond to image, it responds to intention. You were authentic, flawed, yes, Hurting, yes, but real. And that's why the universe never left you. Even when it felt like you were alone, you were being watched, guided, and positioned. But they use their pain to inflict more pain, use their emptiness as a reason to tear others down. And now they're reaping what they sowed, times 10. Because the universe doesn't just return energy, it multiplies it. That's why it's hitting them harder. That's why it looks worse. That's why you can see them crumbling under pressure. You walk through without a map, without support, without resources, but still made it out glowing. Because you were built for it. They weren't. You had purpose on your back. They had ego, and ego shatters under pressure. Don't let your empathy confuse you. You might still feel that sting of sympathy, that soft spot, that ache in your chest, because you remember how deeply you once cared. But don't mistake emotion for obligation. You don't owe them compassion when all they ever did was consume your kindness. You don't owe them comfort while they drown in the storm they created. What you do owe is truth. And the truth is this: they're finally living what they wish for you. And it's not a coincidence. It's not bad luck. It's the universe showing that intention matters, that energy comes home that you don't get to destroy people and call it love. You don't get to manipulate, gaslight, and betray and walk away. Blessed not anymore. So let it play out. Let the cycle complete. Let the energy flow back to its source. You don't need revenge. You don't need closure. You don't even need the apology, because the apology is already happening, just not with words. It's in their silence, their breakdown, their slow fall from the pedestal they built on your pain. And if you've been tempted to reach out to help, to check in, ask yourself this: where was that energy when you needed it, when you were crumbling? Who caught you when you cried? Who cared when you fell? Who reached out? You know the answer. So act like it, chosen one. This isn't cruelty. This is correction. You're not being cold. You're staying clear. You're not bitter. You're better. And they're only now learning that what they sent out wasn't just a joke. It was a boomerang. And now it's hitting them harder than they ever imagined. And guess what? This is just the beginning. They wanted your life until they got a taste of what it took to build it. They were obsessed with the glow, but they never saw the fire that forged it. And now they are choking on the heat of a life that they thought they could steal. Let's be honest, people don't envy the struggle, they envy the results. They don't want your pain, your nights of silence, the losses, the betrayal, the mental and emotional war zones that you had to walk through. No. They just want the version of you that is standing tall now, the healed version, the empowered version, and the unshakable version of you. However, what they have never understood, and what the universe is making sure they feel now, is that there is no high version of you. They may have never said it out loud, but the envy was written all over their moves. They tried to dress like you, talk like you, move in rooms that you walk through naturally, thinking that they could just become you if they copied enough of the surface. But what they were chasing wasn't style, it was substance. And that's the one thing you can't copy, can't fake, and can't skip. You, without a doubt, survived to get here. They wanted your life. They watched you from a distance and attempted to imitate your light, your walk, and your amount of energy. See, people like this only see the end result. They don't see what it took to become you. They weren't there when you were crying yourself to sleep, wondering if you'd ever feel whole again. They didn't see the anxiety you fought in silence. They didn't see the heartbreak you kept private. They didn't see the disappointments that nearly broke your back. They didn't see you pull yourself out of pits with no ladder. All they saw was the shine, and like moths to a flame, they came perilously close to you, not to learn, not to honor, but to steal. Some of them even wanted to siphon your energy, attempted to get close to you in order to tap into something that they were unable to produce on their own. They observed your development, your strength, and your aura, and rather than being inspired by it, they attempted to own it. They thought, if I just stay near them for a long enough period of time, maybe it will rub off on me. But your energy isn't cologne. It doesn't transfer through proximity. It's not a fragrance. It's a frequency, and unless you've earned it, the universe won't let you keep it. Now, they're stuck in a cycle trying to understand why nothing is working, why everything they thought would come easy, because it looked easy on you, is crashing. They're trying to climb to your height, not realizing that your elevation came with blood, with silence, with complete destruction of your former self. You didn't just rise, you resurrected. There is no glow without the grave, no peace without pain, no strength without surrender. And now they are finally coming to terms with it because they attempted to replicate the outcome without actually walking the path. They attempted to take control of the version of you that was formed by storms, but the universe does not allow fakes to flourish for very long. Now, everything that they admired about you is manifesting itself as pressure in their lives, and guess what? They are unable to deal with it. This is because what you survived was never for show. It was sacred. It was earned. Now that the mask is off, they are coming to the realization that wanting your life means going through the trials that you have endured. This is the part that they never asked for, and it is the part that they are finally coming to terms with. Prayed to skip, they believed they could have your anointing without having to face your adversity, but chosen one, your journey cannot be replicated. And if you have ever wondered why they were watching so closely, mimicking so shamelessly, and even talking behind your back, this is the reason why they were never just jealous. They were obsessed with your essence, addicted to your resilience. And now they are sitting in the reality that they once wished on you, trying to piece together a life that they were never built to carry. Therefore, let them sit in it and let them feel every bit of the weight that they thought they could handle because of what is happening. Now isn't punishment. It's a revelation. The universe is showing them the full truth. You can't copy alignment. You can't wear strength like a costume, and you damn sure can't claim a life you didn't earn. You didn't just survive, chosen one, you became, and no one can take that from you. So the next time you catch someone trying to live your story without earning the scars, just smile because you already know they wanted your crown, but they never could survive your climb. They tried to walk your path. Now they're crawling through the fire that they lit for you. They thought they could wear your crown, but the weight of your wounds is crushing them because your path was never built for them to survive. Let me make something perfectly clear. Not everyone was built for your path. Not everyone was designed to carry the kind of pressure, betrayal, heartbreak, and transformation that you endured. What shaped you into the force that you are now would have destroyed the majority of people. And for those who attempted to copy your energy, they should either hijack your path or stand in your shoes. Their rise was paid for with silence and suffering, with the slow death of who you used to be. You didn't just get better, you rebuilt yourself from ashes. You didn't walk an easy path, you survived a damn war. Now the ones who tried to imitate you are facing the same lessons they laughed at you for going through, and they are breaking down. They thought it was all glow and glamour. They saw the results, the confidence, the peace, and the strength, and they believed they could steal the outcome without surviving the process. However, here is the reality. Your rise was paid for with silence and suffering, with the slow death of who you used to be, cracking under the pressure, folding in on themselves, not because they're weak by default, but because they were never meant to carry what was yours. What strengthened you is suffocating them. The universe isn't cruel, it's precise. It doesn't hand out random pain. It crafts pressure that produces power, but only for the one it was meant for. You were forged in trials with your name on them, and you made it through, not because you were lucky, but because you were meant to, because your energy was built to hold that heat, because the pain didn't crush you, it crowned you. Now look at them, the ones who wanted to be you, mock you, replace you. They're spiraling, pretending they're fine, trying to act unbothered, but inside they're fighting demons they call down on you. And those demons don't recognize them because they weren't the original target. And when energy gets misfired like that, it ricochets right back to the sender and hits even harder. Some of them are in full-blown denial, walking around saying, "I'm good, I've got this, it's just a rough patch." But you can feel the crack in their spirit. You can see it in their eyes. It's not just a rough patch, it's a breakdown. It's reality folding in on them. They're stuck in the very storm they wished you wouldn't survive, and now they're learning firsthand what it means to be trapped in cycles with no exit. And here's the harsh truth they never wanted to face. Not everyone makes it out. Not everyone has the strength to dig themselves out of a pit. They jumped into you. You clawed your way up with no one to pull you. You became the rescue. You didn't just survive, you transcended, but them, they don't move like that. They move slow, they learn slower, and this storm, it could take them 10, 15, even 20 years to recover from if they survive it at all. That's the difference. You didn't just go through hell, you built a road out of it. They tried to follow, not realizing that your path isn't marked by GPS, it's coded in your frequency. And when you try to steal someone else's energy, someone else's journey, someone else's light, you inherit a path that wasn't calibrated for your survival. So now they're drowning in lessons that were never meant for them, facing consequences. They thought they would never experience the feeling of living through a downfall that they designed for someone else. And all you had to do was walk away and let the energy take care of itself. And chosen one, let me speak directly to you for a moment. Stop questioning your light. Stop asking why you are still standing when others are breaking. Stop shrinking because your strength makes others uncomfortable. You were never too much. You were just never built enough. You weren't given an easy life. You were given a heavy purpose and the strength to carry it. And now that you've outgrown it, you are able to handle it. The pain, your power is shaking every false foundation around you. So don't waste your energy feeling sorry for people who tried to sabotage you. Don't second guess your glow just because they're struggling in a storm. They sent your way. You didn't curse them. They cursed themselves. They weren't meant for your path. And now that they've stepped on it, they're learning that every step burns, let it burn. They called you crazy. Now they can't sleep without checking. If you've moved on, they mocked your love, twisted your reactions, told the world you were obsessed. Now they're the ones stalking your energy while pretending they've moved on. Let's talk about it. This person once walked around with the smug confidence of someone who thought they had you under complete control, bragged about you, laughed about you, lied about you, told their friends, I got them wrapped around my finger, and maybe at one point they did. Maybe you were hooked, not because you were weak, but because you loved real, because your heart was open and you believed what they were showing. You was genuine, but they weren't in it for love. They were in it for the power. They played games with your head. They gave you just enough to keep you chasing. They pulled back when you got too close. They pushed your buttons. And then they told everyone that you were unstable, saying that you were crazy, obsessed too much, when in reality you were just reacting to the manipulation, the mind games, and the emotional warfare that they disguised as connection. Saw people like this. They operate in the shadows, covert, subtle, and slick. They don't always yell or rage. They smile while they dismantle you, and they provoke you until you finally snap. They pull out their victim card and show everyone your reaction like it's the whole story. Look at them, they say, I told you they were obsessed. But what they don't show is what they did to cause it. The gaslighting, the hot and cold behavior, the smear campaigns, the backhanded comments designed to destabilize you, the carefully timed silence that drove you mad. They made you the villain in a movie they directed. And the worst part, they had cheerleaders watching it clapping, enabling nodding along. Let's talk about the flying monkeys. The ones who believed every lie, the ones who swore they knew the truth based on nothing but hearsay and jealousy. Sheep blindly following, and not because they're completely ignorant, some of them knew better, but jealousy clouds logic, insecurity silences intuition, and when someone's threatened by your light, they'll join any narrative that dims it. So while they sat around dragging your name through the dirt, you were trying to keep your peace, trying to hold on to love, trying to make it work, and still you got painted as the problem. But now the mask has slipped. The same person who swore they didn't care about you, watching you like a hawk, stalking your socials, asking mutual friends about you, trying to copy your style. They said you were obsessed, but now they can't stop checking. If you've moved on, they downplay it. But the obsession is real. Every post, every glow up, every silent success you don't even share, it's eating them alive. You ever hear a song and know it's a message Obsessed by Mariah Carey? Anyone that energy is real, it's not random. You're picking up on it because their attention is loud and it is focused on you. They can't believe you slipped through their fingers. They believe that you would always come back. They believed that the damage they did would keep you stuck in place begging for their crumbs. However, now they are the ones who are left begging, not with words, but with energy. They don't know how to admit it. However, they require your attention like oxygen, because attention from you was supply. It fed their ego. Your reaction made them feel powerful. However, you cutting them off is the real blow. You are no longer explaining yourself. You are no longer defending yourself. You are no longer yourself. You no longer trying to fix what they broke. That's silence. That's their karma. And here's the part that really stings for them. The same crowd they convinced you were crazy. They're starting to question everything. People are noticing the patterns, the cracks, the way nothing adds up when your name comes up. The same flying monkeys are slowly waking up, and when they do, the truth will be undeniable. So, chosen one, don't feel bad for how they spun the story. Don't feel guilty for reacting to calculated harm that was an obsession, that was survival. You didn't lose. You escaped. They didn't expose you. They revealed themselves, and now the only thing wrapped around their finger is the thread of a story that's unraveling, while you walk away unbothered, undefeated, and completely out of reach. They backed the villain, and now they're drowning in the same karma. That wasn't craziness. It was clarity coming through the confusion. Now that you've stepped out of their game, now that you've stopped dancing to the beat of their manipulation, they're the one left haunted now that you've stopped dancing to the beat of their manipulation. For example, some of these people never really had a problem with you until your light made their darkness too loud to ignore. You didn't hurt them. You didn't wrong them. You just triggered them. You walked in with clarity, authenticity, and peace, and that shook them. They co-signed the lies, ignored the red flags, and helped paint you as the problem. Now the storm that they helped create is knocking on their door. This is what happens when people choose sides without knowing the truth, or even worse, when they know the truth and still choose the wrong thing, something within them that they hadn't dealt with. So instead of facing themselves, they chose the easier path, joined the villain, and attack the target. They became enablers, flying monkeys, and co-signers of destruction. This wasn't because they were innocent bystanders. Rather, it was because deep down, they enjoyed seeing someone like you under attack. It gave them something to talk about, something to align with. They chose jealousy over logic, emotion over truth, loyalty to dysfunction over accountability, and now they are getting dragged into the same fallout as that which they had previously. The person they protected, they turned a blind eye to all the signs. No, my best friend would never do that. My brother's not like that. You're just overreacting. They defended actions they never had to endure. They excused behavior they would have never tolerated if it happened to them. But because it happened to you, they looked the other way. Why? Because it was easier to believe you were the problem than to admit they were too weak to call out what was clearly wrong. But here's the part they didn't expect. The energy doesn't care who held the knife. If you helped sharpen it, passed it over, or cheered while it was being used, you are a part of the story. And now that karma is not just coming for the main character, it is collecting from everyone who helped push the narrative. And baby, it's ugly. They are confused right now, going through things that make no sense. Losing jobs, losing relationships, feeling stuck, energy is tight, mood is off, and life isn't flowing, and they don't know why, but you do, because when you align yourself with people who are causing damage, you inherit the debt, they join the mess, and now they get to pay for it. Join the consequences. You ever wonder why some of them turned against you so quickly? Why people who barely knew the full story were so quick to label you as dramatic, unstable, fake, or toxic? It wasn't logic, it was projection. Your light exposed something in them, your growth reminded them of where they were still stuck. You weren't doing anything to them, you were just being, and that was enough to make them uncomfortable. So instead of healing, they picked a side instead of minding their own business. They opened their mouths instead of asking questions. They jumped to conclusions. And now they are standing in the same storm that they clapped for, wondering why it suddenly feels so personal. Let them wonder, because what they are learning now is that karma does not care about your excuses. It does not care that you were just trying to be loyal. It does not care that you were trying to keep the peace. When you help someone throw dirt, you should not be surprised when your name ends up buried in the same ground. This could have gone differently. All they had to do was observe with honesty. All they had to do was observe how the only thing they did was say, "That doesn't sit right with me," and then walk away. But instead they chose to validate dysfunction. They laughed at your pain, spread the rumors, took screenshots, and ran their mouths. Now they are going through it quietly and embarrassingly, watching everything they once used against you show up in their life. Guess who isn't reaching out to help them? The very person they defended, because that's how this always ends. The narcissist isolates, then discards, and suddenly the flying monkeys realize they have created a problem for themselves. Were never chosen, they were just used. And by then it's too late, the damage is done, the karma's here, and you've moved on, chosen one stop, wondering if they get it now. They do in their own quiet, awkward way. They're starting to feel what you felt, but without your strength, without your clarity, without your alignment. That's why it's hitting them harder. You went through it and grew. They're going through it and breaking. And the message is loud and clear. You don't get to back betrayal and walk away blessed. You don't get to co-sign chaos and escape the collapse. If you join the games, you join the losses. Let them sit in it. Let them reflect. Let them pay what they helped create. Because the light they tried to extinguish is the only thing that could have saved them, and now it's out of reach. They couldn't handle your power, so they tried to fabricate your flaws. When they couldn't break you with truth, they turned to lies. But now the fiction they created is unraveling and they're stuck in the mess. They wrote they couldn't find anything real to use against you, so they made it up, fabricated flaws, twisted your words, cherry-picked your reactions, all because your strength, your presence, your light made them feel small. It wasn't that you did anything wrong, it's that your very existence triggered everything. They hadn't dealt with, so they looked for reasons to tear you down. And when they couldn't find any, they invented them. This is what happens when people are intimidated by someone they can't control. They spin stories. He's toxic, she's unstable, they're difficult. They search for cracks in your character that they would rather slander your name than look at their own reflection. And the moment the villain in your life, the manipulator, the gaslighter, the one who created the chaos, cried out and said, "They hurt me," doesn't exist. And when they don't find any, they create a narrative to justify their jealousy because accountability requires strength. They would rather slander your name than look at their own reflection. And the crowd rejoiced finally. Now we have a reason to hate them. And just like that, people who barely knew you or knew you but envied you jumped at the opportunity to play judge and jury. No facts, no balance, just blind loyalty to a false narrative that made them feel validated. But now the karma is kicking in because lies don't protect anyone forever. Sooner or later, the energy always catches up, and the people who built their opinions of you on lies are being forced to face the truth slowly, uncomfortably. They're realizing that what they backed wasn't justice, it was jealousy. What they supported wasn't truth, it was a performance, and the one they called crazy, the one they accused, the one they rallied against. That's the same person now sitting on the throne they swore you'd never reach, unbothered, unshaken, undeniable, because real power doesn't scream, it doesn't retaliate, it doesn't play in the dirt with people who thrive in dysfunction. Real power observes. And that's what you did. You didn't fight to be understood. You didn't beg for them to see the truth. You watched. You protected your energy. You kept moving. You let the universe do what it always does, balance the scales. You never had to be perfect. That was never the requirement, but you were intentional. You moved with grace, and even when you wanted to clap back, even when the smear campaigns were loud, even when they were twisting everything you did, you held your ground, you didn't sink. And that's what made them furious. They couldn't destroy you, so they tried to distort you. They turned your boundaries into bitterness. They painted your silence as guilt. They called your calm coldness. And now they're choking on their own narrative because while they were screaming to everyone about who you used to be, you quietly evolved into someone they can't even reach anymore. The lies stopped working. The mask fell off, and their fake stories have nothing left to stand on. Chosen one, this is what grace under pressure looks like. You didn't have to lift a finger to expose the truth. You became the truth. And now those who once pointed fingers are turning them inward, watching everything they supported fall apart, wondering how they got it so wrong. But you know how they didn't want the truth. They wanted ammo. And you gave them nothing. You chose stillness. You chose alignment. You chose to sit on your throne, not because you were running from the war, but because you'd already won it. And now your power is doing what your words never needed to reveal everything. Let them watch. Let them feel it. Let them reflect. You don't owe them your energy. You don't owe them a breakdown. You don't owe them revenge. Your very existence is enough of a reminder that they misjudged you, and they'll be replaying that mistake for a long time. You never needed to prove anything. You just needed to stay in your lane and trust that the lies would collapse under the weight of your truth. And now they're collapsing while you rise. They should have watched and learned. Instead, they judged and burned. They came for your character without understanding your calling, and now they're choking on the truth. Their lies can't cover anymore. Let's close this the right way, because this isn't just a message. It's a wake-up call for every person who thought they could play with your name and walk away untouched while they were busy pointing fingers and whispering about you. They should have been taking notes while they were mocking your grace. They should have been asking how you kept your head high when everything around you was designed to tear you down. But no, they laughed, they judged, they ran their mouths, and now the final lesson has arrived, and it's not pretty. You see, the same ones who stood next to the liar, who knew damn well that person was messy, toxic, manipulative, they still chose them. They still backed the narcissist, still justified their behavior, still convinced themselves you were the problem because the truth was too painful. And now karma is teaching what logic and decency failed to. You were never the enemy. You were the example. You were the one who could have clapped back, could have exposed everything, could have dragged them through the mud with all the receipts, but you didn't, not because you couldn't, but because you didn't need to, because real power doesn't perform. It doesn't shout to be seen. It simply is. And now that quiet power is louder than ever while they gossip. Your life is growing while they plot. You're glowing while they pray for your downfall. The universe keeps lifting you higher. Because the truth is, you were always protected. Not because you were perfect, but because you moved with intention. You carried love even when they gave you hate. You chose silence when they wanted a show. You didn't react. You rose, and that's what burns them the most. They thought you were weak because you didn't respond. They mistook your boundaries for bitterness, your grace for gullibility. But what they failed to realize is that you were playing on an entirely different level. You weren't interested in winning the argument. Rather, you were mastering the assignment. Now, the lessons that they refused to learn from you are being taught to them through consequences. Some of them were gifted. They knew better. However, they used their insight for manipulation. They used their intuition to twist narratives. They played with spiritual fire, thinking they were immune. However, when they came against you, they hit a wall that they didn't see coming because they were unable to. There's a line that can't be crossed. And you were the test, and they failed. This is what happens when people underestimate someone chosen, when they treat love like weakness, when they mock healing because they don't have the courage to begin their own. They thought you were just another target. But what they didn't know is that you were the mirror, and now that mirror is showing them everything. They didn't want to see the downfall they tried to orchestrate for you. They're living it now. The lies they spread being exposed by your elevation, the respect they tried to rob from you being restored without you having to lift a single finger. And here's the part they'll never say out loud. They regret it deeply. They'll never admit it, but they feel it because the same people they tried to convince you were unstable, broken, toxic, are watching your growth now with open eyes. They see your glow, they feel your shift, and they're questioning everything because the truth has a way of breaking through no matter how deep it's buried. So what now? Now you stay on your throne, keep your hands clean, let your life speak, because your story isn't about revenge, it's about redemption. Your legacy won't be built on pain, but on the strength it took to carry it with grace. You don't have to explain a thing. The ones who need to know already see, and the ones who refuse to see are learning the hard way. Let them gossip, let them lie, because while their mouths move, your life moves louder. So keep going, keep glowing, keep walking. Like the storm never touched you because it didn't break you, it built you. You were never their downfall, but coming against you, that was theirs. And as we bring this message to a close, remember, their lies couldn't outlive your truth, and their judgment couldn't touch your purpose. Everything they wished on you has circled back to them, and the universe is making sure they feel it fully. You didn't just survive, you outgrew the war they started. Your glow up is your revenge. If this message hit your spirit, like the video, subscribe for more and drop the number 77 in the comments to claim your rise and reject their forecasts, and share this information with another person you have chosen, because the power you possess increases when the truth is communicated.